How do you beat?
Oh, I don't know.
How do you beat?
Against Guardiola, I lost every match, so I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Lamiobi and Shearer!
Hello guys, how are you getting on? You're very welcome to Season 2, Episode 13 of The Verdict. Now let's just jump straight into it because there's been so much stuff to talk about over the last week. It's been absolutely fucking hectic. So I won't waste any more time, let's just get straight into it. So cast your minds back to last Sunday then, and Derby Sunday. What a fucking day that was. Starting off with Chelsea Fulham, then the North London Derby, and then the Merseyside Derby between Liverpool and Everton. And three absolutely incredible games. Starting off with Chelsea, they beat Fulham by 2-0. Thanks to goals from Pedro and substitute Ruben Loftus-Cheek. The second of which, Loftus-Cheek goal, was a fucking beautifully worked goal from Chelsea. 2 or 3 players involved in it, in the build up to it, and brilliant finish by Ruben as well. And you know, at that point in the week, Chelsea were looking good, but to be honest, looking back on it now, you could probably put our Sunday League team out against Fulham and they'd probably still give them a decent game, to be fair. Moving on from that then, and it was the North London Derby, and what a game this was. This has definitely got to be up there with the best North London Derbys I have ever seen. An incredible fucking game. Ultimately ending in Arsenal beating Spurs by 4-2. Eric Dyer gave Spurs the lead with a glancing header before Shkodran Mustafi equalised for Arsenal. Spurs were then back in front thanks to a Harry Kane penalty which I thought was suspect. It looked to me like as though Heung-min Son had dived in the box, but Kane converted the penalty anyway. Then Arsenal were back in it again. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang with a fucking incredible finish to make it 2-2. Lacazette then got a shot that was deflected off Eric Dyer and to make it 3-2 to Arsenal. And then Lucas Torreira made it 4 with a brilliant finish as well. Again, Eric Dyer was at fault for it and got plenty of stick after his celebration. After all the fucking, you know, that celebration and the Arsenal and Spurs players fucking spilling onto the pitch after his goal. It was everything you wanted from a North London derby. You had rows, you had lots of goals, and you also had a red card. Jan Vertonghen was sent off late on in the day. It didn't have too much of an impact on the game as a whole, and of course the fans were rowing with each other as usual, but it's a North London derby, you can't expect anything less from that. Moving on to the third derby of last Sunday, and it was Liverpool against Everton, and for a long stage of this game, this looked like this could be the one game that goes to be a dead game, the dead derby of the day, and have no goals in it, because to be honest, Everton had come very close to taking the lead. Andre Gomez had one cleared off the line by Joe Gomez. Alisson had made some fucking incredible saves. That was an initial one from Andre Gomez as well. Yerry Mina had a fucking great chance down at the Kop end to give Everton the lead, but it was Liverpool who won it, and it was substitute Divock Origi with one of the most astonishing goals I've ever seen in a Merseyside derby, and it was one of the most crazy finishes to a Merseyside derby I've ever seen in my life. It comes from a skewed shot from Van Dijk, a skewed volley from Van Dijk, loops up into the air, bounces. It doesn't actually hit the crossbar. Initially I thought it had, but Jordan Pickford claws at it and makes an absolute fucking balls of it, and it just falls for Origi. To be fair to him, he was jolly on the spot. Daniel Sturridge was in the vicinity as well, but Origi was the only one that actually followed it up, and the unlikely hero claimed the win for Liverpool. An incredible fucking game. That takes us on to the midweek games then, and without a doubt the highlight of the midweek games was a 2-2 draw at Old Trafford between Manchester United and Arsenal. Starting off with David De Gea, pretty much wanting to do his best impression of Jordan Pickford and pretty much clawing Shkodran Mustafi's header into the goal. A header that wasn't particularly powerful, but it still managed to get the better of the best keeper in the world. Anthony Martial then equalised for Man United before a shot from Alexandre Lacazette was then turned into his own net by Marcus Rojo. But Jesse Lingard saved the day for United and secured a point for Mourinho's men at home. However, this did keep Arsenal's unbeaten run going, and after this game it was now 20 games unbeaten on the trot. Then possibly a lot of people's highlight of the week was Chelsea losing 2-1 to Wolves. A terrible performance. We did take the lead in this game at Molineux thanks to a goal which was given as an OG in the end. It was a shot initially from Loftus-Cheek which was deflected in. It just went downhill from there on in. We got lackadaisical, which we have done a few times this season with smaller teams, and thought, you know what, we don't really have to fucking put the boot down and, you know, drive on and get the win here. What we're going to do is we're just going to sit back and invite pressure. And yeah, it cost us big time. Raul Jimenez and Diego Jota were both on the score sheet, and Chelsea lost 2-1 to Wolves. And I was fearing the worst at this point, boys. I'm not going to lie. I was thinking, let alone are we not in a title race anymore. Like, Spurs and Arsenal are still winning games. And obviously Spurs won during the week. I think it was against Southampton 3-0. And Arsenal were obviously still picking up points, and we're still unbeaten after 20 games. And I was thinking to myself, well, we have Man City. We have Man City on Saturday. How the fuck are we going to play against Man City after doing that? But we'll get on to that in a minute. So, boys and girls, that brings us on to this week's results then. And Liverpool are now top of the table outright after beating Bournemouth by 4-0. Mo Salah looks like he's well and truly back to his best then. He scored a hat-trick along with a Steve Cook own goal, and Liverpool really do look the real deal. I've criticised them. I've criticised Salah this season, that he probably hasn't been as good as he was last season. That was prior to the last couple of weeks. And Liverpool maybe weren't as entertaining to watch as they were last season because of, you know, Klopp maybe tweaking their style of play a little bit. But no, they definitely look to be back at their best now and playing some fucking incredible football as well. They were incredible to watch against Bournemouth, they really were. They have a make or break game now. I don't know if it's tonight, Tuesday night, or tomorrow in the Champions League against Napoli. They need to win it in order to progress to the knockout stages. I think they will win it. I think they'll win it comfortably enough. I don't think Liverpool fans have too much to worry about in that regard. But no, they're looking to be back to their best and deservedly top of the table. You know, I was questioning how they are second. It's their best ever start to a Premier League campaign, and they were still second up until this week. It just shows how good they've been and how good Man City have been as well. Them two looks to be a two-horse race for the title at this stage, especially with some recent results from Chelsea and Spurs and that. So I would say it's a two-horse title race at the minute, but yeah, it should be interesting. Manchester United won at Old Trafford, and Romelu Lukaku scored at Old Trafford. I know, right? Calm down, yeah? Crazy, I know, fucking mental. It's Lukaku's first goal at Old Trafford since, I think it was March, 200 and something days. Like, that is not good enough. For a player you're paying, what was it, 90 million for? From Everton? He needs to be banging them in on the fucking regular, and he hasn't been doing it. Maybe now he'll get a bit of confidence from this and kind of kick on. United fans will be certainly hoping that that's the case and they get their money's worth for him. But yeah, he'd been left out of the team a couple of times in the last number of weeks. Paul Pogba was left out of the team on Saturday as well, so there's still question marks over his future. I don't think he's going to go in January, but you know, it's a really weird relationship he has with Mourinho. One minute they're fighting, the next they're, you know, like that fucking pal and pal. But I don't know. I really don't know what the story is with them in the minute. It seems to be a love-hate relationship that takes twists and turns the whole time. And United fans, you know, it's not good viewing for them. You know, they want to see their players tied down. They want to see their players have a good relationship with the manager. And Pogba seems to have an on and off relationship with Jose. But yeah, again, they won against Fulham. I mean, who's not winning against Fulham at the minute? Arsenal and Spurs both won this weekend as well. Arsenal 1-0 to Huddersfield, I think it was, thanks to a Lucas Torreira goal. And Spurs beat Leicester, I think it was either 2-1 or 2-0 away from home. A good result for them as well. Now, on to the big result from the weekend. Chelsea 2, Manchester City 0. What are you saying? How have we done this then? How has this happened? I've questioned it so many times. Who's going to beat Man City? The only team I could ever see beating them this season was Liverpool, and they drew against them. Chelsea, not 1, but 2-0! 2! Oh my fuck. I don't know how you can go and lose to Wolves and then beat Man City in the same week. Like, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. City dominated large periods of this game. I'm not going to be completely delusional now and say that we fucking battered City and we were good value for our 2-0 win. But, however, I can not count too many times that Kepa Arrizabalaga was actually tested in the Chelsea goal. The only time he was tested was when he actually, decided to give the ball out to fucking Gabriel Jesus in the second half. And at that stage it was 2-0. Not long after the game was pretty much dead. There was that, and there was a Kyle Walker free kick. Raheem Sterling had a really good chance in the first half as well, which he didn't take. Again, one thing that was evident in this game, neither side played with a proper centre forward, and I think that was a big factor in how the game was shaped. Chelsea went with a front three of Willian, Pedro and Eden Hazard down the middle. Alvaro Morata not even in the 18-man squad for tactical reasons. And City were without both Kevin De Bruyne and Sergio Aguero, and Pep didn't even have enough faith in Gabriel Jesus to play him while Aguero was injured. So he played with Raheem Sterling down the middle, and either side of him was Mahrez and Leroy Sané. Now, why did Chelsea win this game? Well, far different approach to the game against Wolves, as you'd expect. You'd expect Chelsea to approach a game different that they're playing against Wolves to a game they're playing against Man City. Of course they will. Against Wolves there wasn't as much emphasis on defending, there was a lot more on attacking, and it left us very stretched and open at times. However, against City, we played with Jorginho nearly playing as a third centre back in a way. Nearly was going back to the Antonio Conte times where we played with sort of a back 5 come back 3. But this game it was just a back 5, and them defenders did nothing else but fucking defend. Every time the ball was switched over to the wings, Jorginho was out between whether it be David Luiz and Marcos Alonso or Dave and Rudiger. His role in the team was basically to ensure that City weren't able to play through the lines and break Chelsea down through the centre. And Jorginho played that role very, very well, I have to say. I've been complaining about N'Golo Kante not playing his usual position, but Jorginho was a very important figure in the Chelsea midfield, and I think that midfield was the right choice for this game. Maybe it needs to vary for other games, but having Kovacic in there with Kante and Jorginho is definitely the right combination for the big games, because they're 3 fucking workhorses, and they won't stop until the ball is won. And, you can't really say City played terribly bad. Pep said after the game that it was an off day, but I mean, you really can't say they played, but they missed Aguero and De Bruyne big time for me. 2 of their best players. De Bruyne definitely their most creative player. Aguero, the man who can actually fucking finish. But as I was saying, they kept on pushing them out wide, and they kept forcing City to cross, and with only Raheem Sterling in the middle, it was never really going to cause Antonio Rudiger and David Luiz too many problems. The goal came, non-surprisingly, from a bit of a counter-attack. David Luiz with a long punt forward is an excellent ball to Pedro. He switches it, Willian takes a poor first touch, Alonso pulls it back for Alonso, he gives it to Hazard inside the City box, pulls it back, and N'Golo Kante sprinting in on the end of it. He's lost by Leroy Sané, and Kante smashes it into the roof of the net to give Chelsea the lead, and totally against the run of play at that point in the game, and that is how it was at half time. But even at 1-0 I was still worried for Chelsea. I still thought maybe we're going to have issues in the second half. City are just going to come back even fucking stronger, but it was definitely a good time to score. Psychologically, as much as anything else, when you score before half time, you're going into that half time interval fucking buzzing. But Chelsea came out and they were a lot more expressive in the second half, weren't afraid to actually go at City, had a lot more chances than they did in the first. City didn't pepper Kepa's goal as much as they should have, and the goal came with only about 15 minutes left, the second goal. David Luiz rising the highest from Eden Hazard's corner, lovely flicked header, loops in over Ederson at the back post, at the Matthew Harden end, and that was how it finished. Chelsea 2, Man City 0. Now, I'm not saying we've proven how to beat City. I mean, Liverpool did it, 3 times last season? But we beat City in a different way to Liverpool did. Liverpool did it through their pressing and, you know, using attack as nearly the best form of defence. Chelsea, the other night, were just very solid defensively. And that's what I want to see. I want to see us, before we can go off and play lovely football and that, I would love to see us just be really fucking solid and no matter what, if we don't score, they're not going to concede anyway, so we don't have to worry about that. I thought the back four were just immense. Kepa didn't have too many saves to make, as I mentioned. The midfield three, as I mentioned, for them type of big games, are fucking, were brilliant. The two wide players, Willian and Pedro, were up and down the wings, fucking helping Alonso and Dave respectively. And then you had Hazard, who was always the outball, and, you know, Hazard is now starting to prove to me that maybe he is becoming a stronger team player and it's not as much about, you know, he kind of sacrificed his own game to help Chelsea the other night, and that was just really fucking nice to see. So yeah, that is it for today, lads. There is Champions League games this week, the last set of Champions League and Europa League games of 2018. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please do leave a like and subscribe if you're new with notifications on, and I will catch you guys in a bit. Take care and peace.